Hi, I am Dr. Satish Srinivasan. I am going to tell you about 5 chapters in medicine that you should not forget to revise before your exams. Why you should not miss these 5 chapters? Because they give you very high yield and they are easy to revise. The first chapter is about arrhythmias. This chapter is all about ECGs. If you combine the ECG of arrhythmias along with the ECG of other common conditions like electrolyte imbalances or ischemia, you have a very high likelihood of answering up to 3 questions, that is around 12 marks. ECGs have a logic to them and it is fun to figure out stuff from the ECGs. Remember, you will not be asked about obscure and rare findings in ECG. You will only asked about common conditions and common findings. Usually there will be 2 parts to the question. The first part will be about identifying the arrhythmia. The second part will be on what caused this arrhythmia or what is the treatment for this arrhythmia. For that, you should know about the different types of heart block, the different accessory pathways, supraventricular tachycardias, any named syndromes and their classical findings. You should also know the drug of choice for each type of common arrhythmias. The second chapter you must read is cerebrovascular diseases. Just read everything about CNS blood supply, circle of Willis, etc. And you need to know the basic management of 3 entities, that is TIA, stroke and intracerebral hemorrhage. Apart from this, brush up on the territorial artery syndromes or any named syndromes like medullary syndrome or Weber's syndrome. Make sure you are able to analyze the symptoms and identify the level of occlusion based on the symptoms. The third topic you must read is cirrhosis. Actually, the more important chapter than cirrhosis is HIV. But if you have not revised HIV so far, don't try to venture into HIV now because it's a very big and difficult chapter. Instead, you can move on to cirrhosis. Basic understanding of pathogenesis is important in cirrhosis. Know the clinical manifestations, the complications and their presentation, and a basic overview of their treatment. This chapter is a reasonably easy chapter to revise fast. The fourth chapter you should not miss is vasculitis. This chapter is interesting in that most of the questions seem to be focused on characteristic lab findings and clinical findings, but not much on the treatment part. Know the syndrome names and their classical presentations and findings. The fifth chapter that you should not miss is pituitary tumors. I am not saying pituitary gland, I am saying pituitary tumors. This is a very minuscule chapter compared to the likelihood of having a question from it. You don't have to bother about posterior pituitary. You don't have to bother about excess or deficiency of hormones and their syndromes. You just have to focus on pituitary tumors. Know the clinical presentation, the characteristic field defects, and the different treatment options available for pituitary tumors. If you want to know what is the logic behind the 5 chapters that are being discussed here, you can look at our previous video which discusses the rationale of our ranking of chapters based upon the yield and ease of revision. You can see the link here or down there in the description.